For some people, prison is a solution to their addiction. The question really we have today, or we might ask ourselves, is prison an effective way of, stopping drug addiction? Can it be used as a turning point? Each of us might have different answers to that question. But it's fair to say it all depends on individual circumstances and if people truly seek change. Of course, for some people, it helps and changes them. And for some others, it could be, of course, a downhill road to self-destruction. Former US President Jimmy Carter once said, the penalty should not be more harmful than the drug itself. We're here today to talk to Adam, who felt, of course, prison was his only way out. Adam grew up in a poor background and started cannabis at the age of 15, which led him to, of course, try out other recreational drugs. Things went out of control and led him to harder drugs. Now, Adam is 7 years clean and, of course, have a loving family, a family that supports him and love him. And, of course, a good job. Adam is here today to share his story about the impact of drugs, and hopefully someone will see this and believe that everyone can recover and change if they want to, even though it's true, even though, of course, it involves making harder decisions. And thank you for coming on here, Adam. I mean, of course, it's great for you to come here and tell your story. I feel people can benefit from this conversation. Of course, this conversation, of course, is about raising awareness, even though it involves, of course, asking the most difficult questions. Now, I mean, you started cannabis at 15, and fair play to you. Even though it was a long journey.
Yeah.
You've been clean now for 7 years. You have a good job and you have a loving family. I mean, I guess the first question I have to ask was it worth it? Was it really worth it?
At the time, I thought it was worth it. Just being high, being with your friends, being in with the in crew, getting out, trying to get out of that poor background. And I look back on it and think, no, it's not worth it. It destroys your life.
And of course, the price that comes with these things, obviously the price that we don't see, the price that you're never told is always more costly.
Yeah.
I mean, Adam, tell us about yourself. Tell us, how it all started.
Well, I grew up on a council estate from a poor background. My dad was working, my mother couldn't work, she was looking after kids, and then I started hanging around with a gang of kiddies, and I just thought, I'll try a bit of cannabis. It won't do no harm. So I was smoking cannabis, kept smoking it till the age of 15, and that's when I first discovered heroin. So from the age of 16, I discovered heroin and thought, yeah.
I mean, such a young age, and of course, we know that age nowadays is always even lower.
Yeah.
There are people that try hard drugs at such a early age. Now, I always say there are two sets of, my idea is we could say there are two sets of people that take drugs because of the pain, they've been through or they go through in life, and kind of that drugs helps them to suppress that pain. Of course, people that obviously try, drugs for recreational purposes, or maybe because their friends do it and obviously trying to fit in. Where would you say your category?
Mine started off recreational. Then I was bullied a lot at school, and there was a lot of pain in it from that.
Yes.
And so the only way I felt out of pain was to take drugs.
Yes.
Because there's just no care in the world then. Felt invincible and just got rid of the pain of being bullied. And
I guess you could say all the drugs did was kind of made you numb to those pain.
It's just more like an anesthetic, just numb the pain away from you, and you just won't feel nothing.
Now, tell us about your family. I mean, would you say it was a perfect home?
Yeah, it was perfect in my eyes, but the way you see it nowadays, no home's perfect. You got your ups, you got your downs, you have your bad days, you have your good days. I got my mum and dad, I got 4 sisters and a brother. I'm the oldest, so I should have, looking back, I should have really been an example, growing up. But
Would you say your decisions and obviously those choices you took, perhaps, I mean, because you're the oldest, would you say that influenced your younger siblings and things like that?
I made a bad decision and took the wrong path, but I never ever had anything around my family. If I was to do drugs, it would be out of the house, somewhere secluded, or at a friend's house. So they wouldn't really.
And perhaps, I mean, if you're doing that, it would have been difficult for your parents to pick up on on that.
When I first got caught doing heroin by my mum, I was actually with a friend of mine. He told my mum that I was taking it, so she caught onto it and made me cold turkey. Wouldn't leave me in the house on my own. Took me shopping, and in pain, feeling ill, and managed to get me off of it then. And that was when I knocked it in the head when I was young.
Yes.
And then obviously started growing up, got into relationships, and then I started the clubbing scene.
Yes.
Which was just, let's go out on a weekend and take ecstasy and cocaine.
And that's how many years after between, I mean, would you say that took you to get back onto it? I mean, how many years would you say you?
It wasn't many years, not many years at all. I should say 2 or 3 years.
Would you say taking drugs change your perspective of life? Because the reason I've asked that, because there's so many arguments that people say it's just weed, it's just a plant. Then they bring up, there's the argument, there's, alcohol kills more than weed, even if there is some fact to that, we can't deny it. But maybe you can tell us how it made you feel and how it changed your perspective in life. I mean, how did it affect you mentally? Your family life.
Well, with weed, I kind of seen it as a gateway drug. You're smoking it, you're getting high, but then your intolerance levels getting higher to it, so you're smoking more and more and more, and you're chasing the same high as you got the first time, but you never get it. And financially, it's just breaking you because you're spending more and more and digging yourself into a hole. So then you find another drug to find the buzz, and then you get that first buzz, and then you're chasing it more and more and more again, and it's just spiraling out of control.
And what were you in school? I mean, how did you? I know you say you got bullied, but before that happened, what were you like in school?
I was doing fairly well in school. Obviously, I was a teenager.
Yeah.
A normal teenager, getting into a little bit of trouble, detentions, but until I started getting bullied, that's when I thought, school's not for me. So I dropped out.
And would you say perhaps, the drugs kind of affected you mentally and made you kind of look at things, differently?
Yeah, it kind of gave me no cares. You take drugs, you don't care about anything, people, problems. You think your problem's solved until the drugs wear off, then the problems come back twice as bad, and then you think, I need more just to get rid of the problem again, and then you're just trying to drown the problem each day.
I think that's where perhaps the addiction kicks in.
Yeah.
At what point? I mean, you said, you stopped and, you got into a relationship and didn't go right. At what point did you go from thinking you're a functioner? Because some people will tell you, I can smoke weed or I can take coke and function. And I always say, well, you function because you can afford it.
Yeah.
So you can buy it.
Yeah.
But once that source of income is not there, then I think the addition if you really want to take responsibility, then of course you would. I want to be honest with yourself. You say, "Oh God, I'm an addict."
Yeah.
At what point did you actually go from where you thought, okay, I'm functioning, to where you thought to yourself?
At the point I started losing everything. Everyday function, you just don't want to get up to do anything. You don't want to get up to work, to go to your job. It just takes over you and you're like, no, I ain't getting out of bed. And then you do get out of bed and then your next worry is, how am I going to get my next fix? How am I going to cope out of it? And it is a repeat circle.
Yeah.
So you're just starting at one point and you're coming all the way back around to that start point again. There's no finish line.
Yeah.
Constant race.
I mean, society says, well, this is your choice. This is your choice. And that's what a lot of people, will say. I mean, you said, okay, you take the drugs, it wears off. Now, my question is, didn't you think, okay, at the point where you feel worthless or hopeless and things like that, didn't that choice come in play? I mean, didn't you think like, okay, this is a choice, and can I fix it? Can I go back and make the right choice? I mean,
I think back in that time, in that moment of time, the only choice I had, because I was stressed, I went through a lot, in and out of prison.
Yeah.
And at that time, the only choice I had was, I need my next fix. I didn't care about nothing else.
Now, I don't think drug addiction is a failure in moral values or ethic values. I believe people take drugs to obviously deal with that pain, to obviously suppress that pain. But at the same time, it's obviously quite on. I mean, I like to think when you get to that stage, like you say, the only choice you have is, what is my next fix? How can I stay on that level and not worry about coming down, because that level kind of makes me forget about reality and what's going on and things.
The thing is, we're trying to find your next fix is to make you functional, to make you feel like, yeah, I can do this today. Otherwise, you're just sad, depressed, sat there. No, what am I going to do?
Yeah. So at 15, you've left school. I mean,
Yeah.
there's, what did you do?
I went to college.
Okay.
They put me in a college in Bristol, where I was living. They put me in a college for people that got kicked out of school and all that. Done a tyre fitting course, and that's when I was at that college, is when I first tried heroin through a person I met in college, and thought, because of addictive personality, yeah, this is good. I can deal with this. And it started off with like a little tenner's worth. And I'm thinking, I can get more. Started off then spending more and more. And then every time I used to get paid to go to college, it'll all be gone on drugs. Every week.
And, I mean, how did you feel? Because, I mean, was there kind of any, how did you feel, obviously knowing that, okay, your parents think you're going to college and you're going to, learn, and you're going to make them proud, and you actually going there to, take his drugs. I mean, how do you feel?
At the time, I didn't really think. I was just young and stupid, and didn't really think or care about anyone. It was at a time then, it was like, it's getting out of control, and that's the only thing I knew and I needed was to go out and score some heroin.
And did you talk to your parents about it?
No, I didn't. I kept it secret. But when my mum actually found out, she did say, I knew you was on something, because every time you come home, your eyes would be bloodshot and you wasn't right.
And she must have been quite upset.
Yeah, she was, yeah.
And did you at that point think, I'm gonna, your dad works hard and your mum is trying to look after the house.
That point I felt I need to sort it out, because I'm hurting my parents and everyone around me. And then I stopped then. That was when I was obviously 16. I stopped it. And then I just started going out party on a weekend, taking ecstasy, amphetamine, a bit of cocaine.
And was that different from smoking weed? So I'm guessing this is more higher for you now.
Yeah, it's a different type of high, because
Different level.
obviously with amphetamine it keeps you awake all night, makes you feel really horrible. The next day you can't eat. And cocaine's a totally different high again. And then ecstasy is off the scale.
And were you at this time you're trying different kind of drugs. Everything is on the table for you.
Yeah.
Were you then coming back to weed, or?
I would use weed to bring me down, just to level it out.
I mean, thinking about it. Now, I know. I've heard of instances where people obviously have taken drugs and that's it. They never, I used to train a guy in when I used to be when I used to have a barbers in Commercial Road, and I remember speaking to him on a Tuesday, and obviously he went home, and that I tried to advise him. He went home and he took some drugs and never made it out, and he died. Yeah. Now, what didn't you think of the worst that could have happened? Didn't you kind of think, I'm testing fate and I could be gone?
Yeah, I think the worst I thought that can happen is you could be mixing the drugs, you can OD, or they could be putting something else in that bag rather than the drug they're telling you it is. You don't know what you're buying.
I mean, even now it's worse because they're mixing so much stuff, and this is why when I have this debate with people about alcohol being more deadly than drugs, and we know what's in the alcohol.
Yeah.
Hence why they say drink reasonably. But in these drugs, nowadays, you don't know what's in it.
You don't get no ingredients on the packet.
There's no ingredient on the packet. I mean, it'd be good if you go and buy a bag of weed or a bag of ecstasy and they tell you, 5% fat.
Yeah.
6% protein. And
stay away if allergic.
If you're allergic. But we don't get that.
Nah. You don't get no info. You're just getting the person's word for it.
And when you thought of the worst, OD, and didn't that kind of make you think, I've got to stop?
I OD'd once at a festival on ecstasy, woke up in hospital. Week after, I was out partying again.
I mean, didn't you kind of think, okay, I've been given opportunity, time to, or was it just a case of you were just still trying to run away from?
I was still trying to run away, and I was young and naive as well.
Now you spoke about relationship. You said when you stopped for a bit and a couple of years got into relationship and what was your first relationship like?
My first one, I was with that one for 11 years. Then we split up. And I met someone else. And then after about 9 years, 8, 9 years. She developed mental health issues. And obviously I still had issues dealing with myself.
Yeah.
And the only way for me to deal with that was on a weekend I'll get paid. I think, right, I just dabbled in a bit of heroin and crack cocaine on a weekend. So I've done that for a little bit, had a dabble, and that dabble turned into Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah.
And then that Friday, Saturday, Sunday turned into a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. So then it became another addiction.
They say that's how it starts, isn't it? Let me just try a bit, and
You can't just try a bit. There's no.
when you realize how.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at it as because there is that feeling. I mean, people say there is that feeling. I mean, were you around friends and were you around same people?
I was around one friend.
Okay.
I used to go to his house, just sit there in his room and just smoke the pipe. You know.
And would you say drugs made you feel like you belong?
It made me feel I belonged, but then I was just doing it as a coping mechanism to deal with the stress. It got rid of stress. And every time I get stressed, I think, right, I got the dealer's number. Let's make a call. I got £100 in my pocket. And then that £100 will be gone in someone else's pocket and I'll be getting high.
I'm guessing the dealer is not the one to tell you,
Nah.
don't buy my drugs today. You know,
The thing is, a dealer's not your friend. He's a businessman.
he's a businessman. He's not gonna tell you, you know what, not today, man. You know?
Yeah.
And they've got to get those. They've got to sell their drugs.
And the thing is, once they got your phone number, they're texting you every morning, best about, come see me. And then you're like, oh, I didn't really want that today, but I'll tell you what, I got 50 quid, he's going to do me a deal.
And that even makes it hard for you to even separate, come off, even say you're trying. I mean, even if you're trying, that even makes it difficult to.
And that's the hardest thing when you're sat there and you're like, no, I'm not going to do nothing today. And about 8 o'clock in the morning, you get a text on your phone saying, I'm about all day, best of both. And I'm like, I'm going out now.
That's an option.
Yeah. And it was a stupid option to take, but the offer's there.
Yeah.
And you got money in your pocket burning a hole. Yeah.
Would you say you spent a lot of money?
I spent a fair few £1,000 over the course of the fair few years I was doing it.
So you're in this relationship. Obviously, you've gone back to obviously drugs kind of ease the stress and ease the pain.
Yeah.
What about family?
I cut them out. I didn't really care because I was out doing my thing. Unless I wanted to borrow money, I'll go and see my mum. Mum, can I borrow 20 quid for a packet of cigarettes or whatever? But I wouldn't go on cigarettes. It was going in the crack dealer's pocket.
I mean, do you feel your parents could have done more? Because at this age, you were old enough to make those decisions or choices.
I was an adult. My parents shouldn't have to deal with me as an adult. It's the path I chose. Instead of going to the right path, I chose the left path, which is the bad path. And that was it. Once it got hold of me, once it gets hold of anyone, there's no coming back from it.
Was there a point where you thought to yourself, I need help, I want to?
It came to about 2017 when I got put into a bail hostel. Yeah. And even the first night I arrived there, I knew straight away it was a heroin addict straight away. And I thought, They offered me some the first night.
You said no?
I said no.
Okay, that's good.
I was obviously cold turkey and just got out of the courts, just got out of the cells, and then they put me in a bail hostel from Bristol to Portsmouth. And I tried being the bigger man.
Yeah.
Tried. I really, really tried. And then 3 days into the hostel, I'm like...
it's quite hard to resist that
Yeah,
temptation.
when you're living in a house full of people that can get drugs there and then, and you're like, okay, I'll just have a bit, just a little bit,
yeah.
just to make myself, you know, function, feel good. It never worked out like that. I ended up down there with nothing.
Guess that little bit turned to a little bit more. And
Yeah, it turned into like, right, waking up in the morning, right, I've got no money, what can I do? You go and sit outside the co-op just at the rope in your stall, begging for money, phoning people up, borrowing money off my parents. Oh, what's it for? Oh, I ran out of tobacco. Lend me 50 quid. So,
of course, your parents would have thought you were trying to change.
Yeah. So that was that. Every day I'm getting money every day. If I wasn't getting money for drugs, I'll get a few quid for extra strong beer, just to take the edge off. Or if not, one of the guys in the hostel used to get pre-gabs, and I'm like, just give me a few of those so I could just neck those, make you feel alright. And then it come to a point where I was like, God, they inject. I thought, oh, I'll try that. So I tried it once, woke up in the morning on the floor, OD'd.
Did you know what? Can you remember anything?
Couldn't even remember falling asleep on the floor.
And we're talking about on the floor
in someone's room, just in the hostel. My room was upstairs. I woke up downstairs on the guy's floor. And I'm like, wow, if that's what injecting's like, I don't never want to do that again.
That's what you said then?
Yeah, that's where I stayed, just smoking then. And
must have been quite bad, because you hear about people that they start from the hand and and they go as far as their groin or where.
The thing is that I don't like needles. That's the trouble. I don't mind tattoo needles, but when it comes to anything else, so I didn't inject myself. Someone else done it for me. I think they'd done a bit too much. And then I woke up. And then it wasn't until about 4 days after that my parents come to visit me. And I was in a terrible mess. Really, really bad.
And they saw this?
Yeah, they saw me in a bad mess.
And we can't forget, there is a lot of parents that really have to make that tough decision, because you have to choose loving your child or feeding his habit. Now, for those parents, I mean, obviously it's a very tough decision, but I mean, I've seen parents say, no, we're not doing it.
Yeah.
Well, I feel again that's also such a tough decision, because I'll dread to think what a parent will feel. I mean, how did they feel? What did they say?
Well, I think they felt pain, because every time they tried to help me, I threw it back in their face. Like, I'd done it again. I repeated and repeated and repeated. And I think there's only so much help that they can give.
Yeah, I agree.
You're grown up, so now you should be standing on your own 2 feet, but you're not. You're relying on other people to help you, and it comes to a point when they come down to visit me. They went back to the train station, and my mum left broken because of what I'd done, my choices.
I mean, I could totally understand her, because obviously my parents died when I was 12, and I'll give anything to have that conversation with my parents and things like that. And I mean, I got myself in trouble once, and I remember what I thought to myself, what would my mother say? I mean, I always tell the story about when I was a kid and I stole some money, equivalent of 20p in my country, because I was that hungry. Normally I'll go stand by the canteen. We're very poor. I will stand by the canteen and try and pick some food up so I can eat. Because I remember sitting there, and my mom asked me a question, and this woman worked hard. I knew she worked hard. I mean, she couldn't walk properly, but she worked very hard to make sure I went to school. And one question she said to me when I came out from school is that, have I not done enough for you? And that question remains in my head, 20 years, I still think about it. So
Yeah.
I guess I can kind of understand, from your mom's point of view, how that pain, because this is a mother that obviously loves you.
Yeah, well, the day after they visited, after my mum left broken, I phoned my solicitor and I said to him, just change my plea in court to guilty. And
Why? I mean, why do you think prison was the only way out for you?
because that's the only way I can get away from everything and get the help I needed at that time. So my solicitor asked me why, and I said, well, I'm going to end up dead. Literally going to end up. And it's not fair on my family. I need help.
Now, some people will say that, of course, we'll go to prison, and even could say you might even get a better access to to those drugs and things like that. But you had a different intention.
I had a different intention. I used prison as a rehab.
And did that help? Because you're now in prison, drugs is there. It's there. I'm sure,
The first night in, obviously go in, but on the first night weighing, see the doctor, like, yeah, I'll give you some methadone. So I took the methadone. And then after that, I thought, yeah, they're really noticing that I need help. So they're helping me, counsellor, drug courses. And then I started working in there, good job. I was in for 3 months. So rapid detox.
it's good.
And I served my 3 months. Like 2 days before I come out of prison, I stopped the methadone script. I just wanted to come out and get it over and done with. I didn't want to come out on anything. So I come out and I done 2 weeks cold turkey, just doing nothing. I had a job lined up for when I come out with someone I knew, so they could keep an eye on me, make sure I wouldn't do anything again. So I come out, done the 2 week cold turkey and went back to work.
That's a risk you took.
Yeah.
What about if it didn't work? What about if you went in there and as you know, for some people, there is no. It's a downhill battle because, I mean, maybe because there's no help, there's no support, there's they don't get. What if that risk you took didn't work? Did you ever think about that?
I took a gamble. I think with life you got to take a gamble once. It might pay off, it might not, but that risk is worth taking, especially if you really want it. If you really want out of that life, take that risk.
And there comes a question of responsibility. Of course, would you say you took at this point you took responsibility?
Yeah, there's only one person that can take responsibility for your own actions, and that's yourself. You got to grow up and take responsibility and realise.
I mean, some people might, of course, want to, try and shift, some blame. What does it mean? What did it mean for you to take responsibility for?
It meant I've realised and I've started thinking for myself. I'm not relying on a drug dealer to go and get something to stop me from thinking about anything. It means that I've woke up.
Come off prison, new phone, new number?
New number, everyone blocked.
And that's important, isn't it?
That is very important.
That's important.
Because that one text could be a trigger.
Because I think it can be, you got to have a big willpower if you're going to be in the same contact, be contacting the same people you're contacting while you're on drugs. But of course, changing that phone and changing that number and cutting a lot of people out.
Yeah.
You had to make that step because if you didn't, it's back to square one.
It's about breaking the cycle. It's not about going round in a circle anymore.
You got to come out of it.
You got to come out of that circle and start following the straight path. And if you want it, you're really going to want to do it, because being stuck in that circle is just repetitive, and it's not a good life.
I mean, you've come out of prison now, and so you said there was a job, ready for you,
Yeah.
and things like that. And how did that help you? Because obviously some people, it's quite, come out of prison is going to be quite difficult.
Yeah. That it just helped me get back to normality. Feel like me again. I'm actually back to work. I'm a qualified bricklayer, so
Nice.
I went back doing that for a while with my friend. He kept me in work, and I just keep busy. It's just about keeping the mind occupied.
Would you say you're grateful to that friend that?
Yeah, I'm very grateful.
And what about your parents now?
I'm in contact with my parents now.
And they must be proud of how you're,
Yeah,
how you're doing and things like that.
I've really got back my relationship with my family, which I wanted now. Is good.
And that can be quite a big support.
Yeah.
Because it can be quite, well, and I know there's that fix that fakes people get, but really and truly it is a very lonely place when you're taking a lot of these drugs, wasn't it?
The thing that made me happy that I've done it is hearing my mum say that she's proud of me. That's
good.
That's the one that made me feel, I felt good about doing it.
I mean, just talking to you and obviously hearing your voice, obviously shows that there is emotions when it comes to you.
Yeah.
When it comes to your mother, and when I meet a lot of, when you talk to people, try and make them understand that the importance of that, because I mean, obviously you got a dad, but I think the moms they really do try, and I mean it's good to know that obviously you've changed that and you turn around. I mean, looking at now, what advice would you give you from what you know now? What advice would you give yourself if at 15? What would you say to yourself? What?
I think I would say don't take that path, because you never know what you're going to lose along the way. What respect you lose from your family, what loving you can lose. Even just the simple things like material things you lose along the way, what you got any money you're going to sell. And everything you work for in life, it just goes.
Because a lot of you talk about you were bullied. A lot of the youngsters that you see a lot of them will go through things you went through, and of course they will think that there is no hope and want to start like you started. What would you say to them?
I'd say don't go down the same path. Go and seek help from someone if you are getting bullied. Don't bottle it up, because that's when you end up in a sticky situation.
I think that again, it's about trying to deal with the emotions, and that's where talking is important.
Yeah.
I mean, do you feel if you spoke more, it would have helped a bit?
I think if I didn't bottle it up so much, and I spoke to the people that cared, I think it would have helped. I wouldn't have took that path. But some people just bottle it up and it explodes.
Yes, and that's what's that? What did they say? They say I think Nelson Mandela? He said, hating is something to do with hating is about when you carry that anger
Yeah.
The only person you burn, it's like burning yourself.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and things like that. And
You're just adding the fuel to the
Adding fuel
fire
to it.
each time, and it's still burning, it's burning, it's burning. And where does it go? It's not going anywhere.
going
It's just
anywhere.
staying. It's just
Staying
staying
there.
in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
You're just putting everything back,
Yeah.
and it just comes to a point where, bang. Looking back now, I think of myself kind of silly that I could have talked to someone in the first place and not taken that path. I can kind of laugh and joke about it now, but at the time, it wasn't a laugh and a joke. An addiction is not a laugh and a joke.
I mean, do you see where? I mean, it was just a weed, and then it went to other drugs and things like that. Of course, it was just you and your friend, so you could say, "Well, I wasn't hurting anyone. I'm just getting high and
Yeah.
chilling on my." But do you kind of look back and see, obviously through your drug course and things like that, do you see the consequences it could have had, like things like it could have been longer time in jail.
Yeah.
It could have been a wrong thing. I mean, do you see the crime that can come from?
It could have been someone finding me and my family ended up coming to my funeral. You know, there's many consequences.
Does that make you grateful? Because
Yeah, it does.
Because you could say you cheated. You cheated.
Yeah.
I mean, talking about your OD when you were in hospital and things like that, you could say you cheated. You might have cheated death.
I cheated death.
A lot of people don't. I mean,
Nah.
a lot of people don't, and again, I guess you could say, why would you say people don't look at it that way? Do you think the excitement, the buzz, just don't make them think that far?
The
Or?
excitement and the buzz don't make you see into the future. That it can get hold of you, and if it does get hold of you, you've got nowhere else to go. Because when you wake up the next morning, you want that fix, and you're phoning up that dealer. That's all you're going to think about. It's not a life. It's an existence.
That's it. Yeah.
All it is when you're an addict is an existence. You're not living a life that you should be.
And you're absolutely right, because I mean I've been to a lot of homeless places and things like that, and sometimes I look at these individuals and I say to myself, do they even know they are here?
Yeah.
Or, for example, say I mean, I've been to places where they give food and you see some of them and you're like, do they know they're here, or is it just they've just come to feed their body?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, how did I feel? Because
At the time, I didn't feel nothing because I didn't realise. You don't think.
do you realize anyone around you? Do you?
Yeah, but you don't recognise them. You're like oblivious. You're just oblivious to everyone and everything. With addiction, you're just all about yourself.
That's powerful when you say it's not. You're not living. You're just existing.
Yeah.
And that's quite deep. That's quite deep. I mean, did you get arrested during while you were in and out of drugs and things like that?
Yeah, I've been arrested many times. I've been arrested for cultivation of cannabis.
And would you say? I mean, because sometimes when you get arrested, people, obviously for a crime, people look at look at the police as Did that make you feel resentful? Did you?
Nah, because it's kind of my own fault. You're going to do something silly. There's consequences to everything you do. And I committed a crime. I got arrested for it. So be it. You got to deal with it.
And did you get help when you got arrested?
Not much, because I refused help. At that time, I didn't really care. I didn't want.
I mean, were you offered help and
I was offered it, but I was just
you
like,
refused it
no
because
thanks, I'll get help
Yeah.
another day, you know. You're like, yeah, just put it off and it'll go away. So you just put that off. And then I went to court, I've been on probation, I've had help through probation, and just thought, that's pointless.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You're just telling you how to suck eggs. I already know all this, yeah, you think you're better than all that.
Yeah.
And then
But doesn't that thinking kind of make you, because maybe you're saying no, if you think you're better, you think, doesn't that thinking make you kind of not see maybe a clearer picture? I mean,
it just makes you blind. It just makes you blind to everything, and you just think you're doing the right thing at the time, not taking help. You're like, yeah, I'll be all right. It ain't that bad. You know, it's what? It's only addiction. Nothing bad about it. Because I used to think you can judge me. No one. I'm my own person. You know?
because I mean, I guess when you are, I mean, is it fair to say that, like you said, when you're taking all that, then no opinion is relevant apart from what you think about yourself.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
if you're going around and saying, I may be getting high on these drugs and think, well, no one can judge me, it shifts you further away from.
It does, yeah. It shifts you further from humanity, you know. Yeah. I don't care what anybody else says. I'm me. If you don't like me, you don't have to speak to me. You don't have to associate with me. I'm just doing my own thing.
And we that can be quite hard because then you put yourself into isolation, but humans were created to obviously
integrate
and things like that. And tell us what you're doing now. I mean, you have a loving family.
Yeah, I met my new partner 5 years ago. She was living in Rawton, other side of Swindon. I was living in Bristol. And we were together for a year. I just wanted to get out of Bristol and just leave everything behind. Start a new life, start fresh. Something that I've never ever done unless I was forced to. And okay, I left everything.
Do you think that was very important?
Yeah, yeah. Because it took me away from everything I knew to somewhere where no one knew me. I can start fresh.
Yes.
I can start a different life altogether and explore more.
Yeah.
Explore more options. So that was 5 years ago. And then 2 years ago she fell pregnant. We had our first child together, a little girl,
Congratulations.
2-year-old. So yeah, and then I actually felt like life was coming together. I was working, bringing the money in, putting the food on the table. Really good relationship.
It's good.
And I started a driving job last August.
Oh, nice.
So I've had many jobs. I found this one, good job, started a driving job. And after a few months, I went into the warehouse working, everything good.
That's good.
Good, getting on good.
That's good.
And then it's come to a point now I'm actually running the place.
That's good.
I'm a depot manager.
So we can recover.
Yeah.
We do recover.
And we do live.
But we have to, there has to be that change. We need to
You
seek
just
that
got
change.
to put your hand out and grab it.
And that's quite important.
Yeah, very.
That's quite important.
And you got to be really strong.
That hand has to be, because you've gone from, I don't care.
Yeah.
Whatever people think about me, I don't care. To actually reaching out and saying, well, hey, I do care. I need some help.
Yeah.
And it's come back to pay you, reward you good.
Yeah. Like,
now, thinking of where you were, how you were with the addiction, you have a daughter now.
yeah.
When you could you ever imagine your kid in the situation you were in? Can you?
7 years ago, when I was an addict, I didn't think I would be nowhere in life to what I am now. Every day's been, when I first started recovering, every day was a battle. Waking up during the night, sweating, vivid dreams, and you're like, that felt so real. Was I using last night? Then, like, no, I was in bed.
It's crazy, man.
And then
You start. That's crazy when you start dreaming.
yeah,
Even though you haven't touched it.
and then you wake up, you're like,
What was I doing last night?
I'm sure I was in bed last night. I didn't leave my bedroom, you know. And then I think that with recovery, I'm not going to tell you, the first year and a half, the first 18 months is the hardest. Is the part where you got to build up all your strength and your barriers, and you've got to get rid of the circle of people you was hanging around with, who you associate with. Change your phone number, change everything. Get rid of all that background, and then it becomes easier when you're not getting text messages, you're not getting phone calls, and you're like, yeah, you're going to do. Like, you don't want none of that.
And of course, that's not something you ever. That's not something you want for your kids. And
Nah.
That's not a pain you want them to go through. And,
No.
And when you think about all you went through, and where you are now, I mean, what would you want to say to people out there struggling, don't think they can do it?
I just want to say that there is always light at the end of that tunnel. Always. And if you really want the help, go and grab it while you can. Put your hand out, reach out. Anything that's offered to you, take help-wise. Because there is always a way out.
Like we said, you got to reach out.
You got to reach out. Grab the help while it's there being offered. Otherwise, you're not going to get the help. You got to reach out. It's not going to come to you. You've got to go to the. Just put your hand out to anyone. Anyone can help.
But it's that feeling of shame. It's that shameness, that hopelessness.
Yeah, but don't feel ashamed. You've gone through something in life someone's never gone through before in their life.
Yes.
So don't be ashamed. Don't feel judged. Let people judge. They can judge, but they've never been in your shoes.
Yes.
They've never been through what you've been through. And even if you reach out and take the help and you come out the other side, never know, maybe you can help someone.
Yes.
You know.
Of course, and this is, of course, why you wanted to get this video done, because you felt you can, you want to use your story and, help others and raise awareness. And that's what this is about.
Yeah.
Getting the stories out so people can understand from, drug addiction or say drug addiction side of why they've done it, why they did it, and of course, hopefully raise awareness. Because I feel again, we mustn't forget this, that empathy and love is needed. I mean, for those that are going through addiction in society, and I think it's sad because sometimes you see posts and people start with a crackhead.
Yeah, that.
But I'm thinking like, well, that's a human being.
Yeah.
If you're thinking that, oh, this person is a crackhead, then there's no way you're going to treat them with respect, because you've already demeaned them before even trying to understand where they've, what they're going through.
And that's sometimes what stops people from reaching out for the help.
I really get quite frustrated when people use the word, crackhead, or because I think, like you said, because you're already passing judgment without even, But I feel a bit of love, empathy, can really, because, you know, you never know what people are going through. A bit of high and a smile does help.
The way I see it, no one's above each other. We're all on the same level.
Mm-hmm.
We're all human beings.
Yes.
We all got a life to live. And so have addicts. They're just burying pain deep down that they've gone through.
And again, like I said before, I can't seem to imagine, because when you see, you know, a lot of these individuals, it can be quite sad. You know? It can be quite sad. I guess I'm going to use this. I'm going to end this podcast by saying, of course, prison, of course, gave you that opportunity.
Prison gave me that escape I needed to get off the streets.
But again, it doesn't end there. There is also you coming out with, you know, you had that help, which is good.
Yeah.
But hopefully people can reach out, you know, if they need that help, and of course, but hey, well done, you know.
Thank you.
Well done. We want to hear stories like you and show that it's possible. We want people to know that, of course, that drug addiction is something that affects the society, and until we come together with a bit of empathy and love to, you know, in dealing with individuals, because they are human beings like us.
Yeah.
That is the first step to actually dealing with this situation. Also, of course, let's not forget that kindness. You know, whether it's the person that is sat by the shop begging for a pound or wherever, I always say, well, if you don't want to give them if you don't want to give them a pound, it doesn't need to be horrible. Just, you know,
just go and buy them a hot drink or something.
Go buy a hot drink and things like that. But I've had stories of you see it on posts. I think someone commented on made a post. I mean, they had to make a post. Now they bought a homeless person a sandwich and they didn't take it. You know, I'm like, you seriously had to make a post about that.
Thing is with this world nowadays is a social media world and everything's got to go on it. It's like,
and you see a lot of this. I would say social media became a place where people can be so disrespectful. I mean, you see people take out cameras nowadays too.
Yeah.
How is that being kind?
Rather than helping someone.
Rather than helping, they will not take out the phone just to. That's very poor thinking.
I've seen a lot of things where someone's been getting bullied or beat up and they're just pulling the cameras instead of jumping in the middle and saying,
stop it.
They just rather film it and put it on social media.
And then I guess people forget the consequences it will have. And, you know, things like that. But you know what, Adam, I'm really grateful you came today, and it was really good to hear your story. And I really hope that this, you know, video reaches out to who it needs to reach out. Of course, help people to perhaps approach, you know, because people can change.
Yeah.
Everyone needs that chance. But we have to start giving that chance, but of course showing love.
Everyone's worth a second chance.
I totally agree. And you know, that's very important to remember. Because what's that saying? You're a paycheck away from, you know, from no, you never know where life. And I think fair play to individuals like you that go through that stage of challenging their demon and coming out on the other side.
Yeah.
And like we said, not a lot of people go about saying, "Oh, I've saved a life." But if you can say I saved a life, that's something to.
I'm just proud to be sat here now to tell my story to help.
And that's something to be proud on, as long as this video is out there to people.
Yeah.
Because without people like you, who knows? Nice coming. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.